those of you who use Veeam for backup, I love Veeam. Veeam Certified Engineer. I think you can do lots of cool stuff with Veeam. Have you looked at how you've architected your backup solution with Veeam lately? Really, since ransomware has been going crazy, if you're backing up just to on-prem backups, they're going to get encrypted and attacked by the attacker. Your Veeam server is going to get encrypted by the attacker. And if you're using Veeam's encryption to protect your data, to meet some compliance encryption requirement, chances are you're going to lose your encryption keys because they'll get encrypted. And if you don't have those backed up, you'll have no way to recover, even if your backups are good. I've seen that happen where we've had good backups but no encryption keys to be able to decrypt the backup from Veeam's, encryption technology. Because the sysadmin never backed up the keys anywhere outside of the infrastructure, and the entire infrastructure got encrypted with ransomware. So what are the lessons? If you're using Veeam's encryption, back up the keys. OneDrive, SharePoint, Google Drive, wherever. Put them somewhere not in your damn network that is protected and only you can get access to it. If you're using a NAS or something for backup storage, make sure the permissions are set correctly so it can only be accessed from the Veeam server. Ideally, your backup storage is on its own VLAN so that it can't be tampered with anyway. But we want ACLs to be set up so it needs to be authenticated against in order to, with creds that are unique to the Veeam server. Make sure your Veeam server is not joined to your Active Directory domain. If you want to be stuck on AD, build another domain just for your backup infrastructure and have no trust relationship between the two. The reason is one of the things attackers do when they gain access to an environment is enumerate Active Directory. They'll see your administrative accounts, they'll see your Veeam accounts, your service accounts. They will brute force the passwords, and then they will have access to your environment. And you don't want the attacker having passwords for your Veeam servers. So keep those hardened and updated. Have proper EDR on all of your Windows Veeam infrastructure. And make sure that they're not joined to the domain and that they have unique administrative passwords. There should be no passwords that are the same between your Veeam environment and your on-prem environment, your production environment. When you're designing, I like to put, and this is just my personal preference, one proxy on every host. Really, it all depends on how your infrastructure is set up, but I like to have at least one Veeam proxy on every host. That way I can back up using, ESXi's protocols, using that proxy. Veeam can, without a proxy, can back up directly through ESXi's API. But faster if you have a proxy. Sorry about the yawn. I'm just perpetually tired. If you have a SAN or other storage that is, direct network storage, see if you can, get the correct plugins or whatever in order to get that storage directly through that device, so you're not having to route through ESXi. So yeah, that's possible. So also, if you have SAN storage, ideally it's architected correctly with ESXi so that you're taking advantage of a lot of the stuff that the SAN is capable of with ESXi, and you're not just using it as dummy drive space. So in order to ransomware proof your environment, you've done all these things. The attacker lately is still hacking VMware, is still If you have anything in the SXI, it's gone at this point. What do you do now? So back up your Veeam servers to the cloud, and your entire Veeam infrastructure, as well as all of your guest VMs and your host configs, vCenter, everything. I use a backup scale set to AWS or Azure. The newest version of Veeam will allow you to back up directly to cloud. If you set up a backup repo that is like Amazon S3, make sure that that storage bucket is configured correctly so that it does not allow anonymous write or read, and that it is configured so that it's immutable, so that an attacker can't delete your backups. So there are directions on how to set up the AWS and Azure to be immutable. So set up your AWS account to be a storage account to be immutable, and then either set up that as a direct repo and do a copy job it backs up to your NAS first and then copies that backup up to AWS, or set up a scale set where everything that's maybe older than a day old gets beamed to AWS in Veeam, so that it backs up to your NAS, and then as a part of the scale set, it moves that back up to AWS. So you're keeping your most recent backup on-prem, but everything else is in AWS. Obviously, I think a copy job would be the best, where you're copying really everything that is your backup to AWS and make it immutable. But that gives you a Hail Mary. Why do I call it a Hail Mary? Because it's not a fast restore if you're restoring from AWS, unless you have like a 10 gig circuit. Your on-prem restore is always going to be fastest. But in, ransomware or wiper type scenarios, you may not have your local backup. So your AWS copy is, okay, the attacker has destroyed my on-prem infrastructure. I need to be able to recover, and it's in AWS. So that's how I would handle that. There are a lot of service providers, which like Wasabi, which offer similar storage, and I'm not against using that. I would just lean towards a solution that is immutable, truly immutable, so that it can't be deleted or changed by the attacker or anybody else. There are Veeam solution providers which offer the Veeam Cloud solution. They're Veeam Cloud solution providers, and they have an infrastructure that may be cloud hosted, or maybe they're hosting it in Rackspace or whatever, but they're charging you for storage. They are managing a full Veeam infrastructure in the cloud for you, and then your Veeam on-prem is set to talk to that cloud connection in order to back up. That is a good solution. However, with the advent of the S3 immutable storage scale set capability, I wouldn't waste my time with a Veeam Cloud solution provider for that kind of solution. You can do it, yes, there are some capabilities that you're missing out on by beaming straight to AWS, but all you're doing when you're going right to AWS or Wasabi is paying for storage. So I just wanted to kind of go over Veeam infrastructure and how I would set it up. The number of proxies and everything varies. It all really depends on the size of your infrastructure, the speed of your storage, what capabilities you have, things like that. There's, worksheet calculators in Excel that'll help you calculate really how many proxies you need based on how much storage at what speed. But you want to set up the right amount of proxies and the right infrastructure so that and have your backup storage actually be fast, so you can recover fast as well as backup fast. But running a backup can make a big IO hit on the environment. And if you've set up the infrastructure right, bought the right equipment, have the right storage, and have the right number of proxies, ideally, we're not taking down your infrastructure to back it up. All right. Have a good day, everybody.